Hello, children of the world. It's Mama. Did you miss me? Because I'm sure have missed you. So today, Mama's very excited to talk about one of my babies, Gold Digger, and how she come to acquire her, and yeah, and just the journey of like how I stumble upon a Birkin when I wasn't expecting it. So yeah, so keep listening. So how it all began was I started collecting Hermes scarves, and this was just kind of like shits and giggles. I thought it was just like, one-time thing, but then I kind of got addicted to it. And so I was like, okay, like maybe like it's time to get like a nice bag because, like my accessories starting to get a little bit fancier and all that. And so I was like, okay, maybe like, I can afford like, $4,000 or $5,000 for like a nice leather bag. Do you know what I mean? Like commit, like buy the good stuff, cry once kind of thing. And so I was kind of looking at Louis Vuitton because this was back when I was basic, and and so I was like, oh, like Louis Vuitton is like a good bag, right? So I was like, okay, like they make good quality stuff. So I was like, okay, like what should so I looked into it, and I found this bag kind of within my budget, like I think it was like $4,000 then, like $4,300, something like that, and it was beautiful. It's like leather. It has like stitching of the Louis Vuitton, so it's not so gaudy with the print and everything. And so I was like, okay, this is like, this is like a nice bag to like, carry me through, a couple years. So it's like, get its money worth, right? And so I was flying down to Vegas. So I was like, oh, maybe I'll get a better chance because I couldn't get the size because I wanted like a bigger bag. And so I couldn't get the size here in Canada. And so I was going down to Vegas, and knowing I have a sales girl there now for Hermes, I was like, maybe I can call her and maybe she can give me a hookup on, other sales girls or sales guy around, because I'm sure they all talk. I'm sure they're all friends, some sort of like, they all just like mingle and stuff. And so they all know each other. And so I was like, okay, like maybe I can go down there and like I'll call them and I'll ask my sales girl if she knows anybody in Louis Vuitton that can give me the hookup, so I can like, oh, like so and so told me to come to you, so then I might get the behind the waterfall bags. And so I called my sales girl. And I was like, hey girl, like I'm coming down this day, and but like, I have this scarf, like, cause I kind of want a couple scarves. So I was like, okay, have this, scarf ready for me, and all that. And then I was like, oh, by the way, do you know anybody at Louis Vuitton? And she was like, why? And I was like, oh, I'm just like looking for like a nice bag. And, I'm just like thinking like maybe it's time to like, be more grown up and just like, invest in my accessories and stuff like that. And like, and she was like, okay, like how nice of a bag? And I'm like, I don't know. Like I was looking at like one that's like around like 4 grams, so basically $5,000. And she was like, have you ever thought of a Birkin? And I'm like, excuse me, what? And so she was like, yeah, like, have you thought of getting a Birkin? And I was like, no, but like, are you offering me a Birkin? And she just laughed. She's like, well, like if you're looking for a nice bag, maybe like you could look into a Birkin. Maybe you can like, see if it can like, handle it, like if it's a budget. And I was like, okay, like, are you offering me a Birkin though? Like, is this how like you do it? Like, are you offering me a Birkin right now? And she just laughed. She's like, well, come in. When you come in, we can look at the leather. We can look at the price. And I was like, no, just like give me a heads up though. Like, how much is it? She's about like, basically, I think she told me at that time, I think it was $10,000 or something like that. And I was like, ooh, okay, like this is like double what I was thinking of, but okay, like I'll come in and check it out. So I went and showed up, and then so I was like, okay, like how do we do this? She's like, okay, like do you want a Birkin? And I was like, I guess. I mean, like, I guess if it's on the table, I mean, apparently it's like really hard to get offered. So I was like, okay, like, yeah, let's do it. Like, I mean, like, I'm probably never gonna get offered again. So I was like, okay, just let's do this. Because, this is back when I was a basic bitch. And so she brought out this book And she was like, okay, these are the sizes, these are the pictures and all that. Like, it's beautiful. It's like, it's almost like, it's beautiful. Like, I feel like it's the best catalog you can ever, because it shows you the measurement, the size, and it's well laid out, and it's in this like leather bind book. It's just like, the whole experience, just even looking at the product is like, oh my God. And so we were flipping through it, and I was like, okay, like this bag was, cause Louis Vuitton, they go, PM, MM, and GM. And I was like, okay, I want GM. What's a GM? In, Hermes sizing, but Hermes does it by the centimeter. So it's more accurate. So you can actually know like how big it is or something like that. Right. Well, I think also like, I think some Hermes stuff does it in, like, PMs, I think, or like small. I don't know, but it's like, but I know like in the Kelly and the Birkin, they go by the centimeters. And so she's like, okay, like I think for your body size, maybe like a 35 or 40. And I was like, okay, is 40 like the biggest one? Because this is back when I was like all about the biggest one you have. And so I was like, since I'm getting a biggest one for Louis Vuitton, might as well get the biggest one at Hermes for a Birkin, right? I was like, probably gonna buy this once. So give me the biggest one you have. And she was like, okay, so you probably need a 40. And I was like, okay. And so she brought out this beautiful leather bound leather book, and it's not really a book, it's just like leather swatches, and it's like you open it up and it's all the type of leather color that they offer that season, everything you can choose from, but you might not get it, right? So it's just kind of, so she's like, okay, pick your top 3. If they do come in, I'll give you a call, and then like we can work it out. And I was like, okay. So in my mind I was like, okay, like how Asian can my Birkin be? So I was like, okay, I'm definitely gonna pick this like this red, I think it was called Rouge Grand, or I forgot, oh my god, I forgot, oh my god, I'm so ashamed, I forgot what it's called now. I think it's called Rouge Grand, I think, or something red, and it's like this most perfect, beautiful red pocket red. And I was like, okay, obviously, she's like, what about hardware? And I was like, of course, gold. And so I was like, gold in 40 centimeter in this color. And then she was like, okay, pick another 2 just in case, if we never got that in stock. So I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll go for like a hunter green, and I'll go for a deep navy, because I mean, what could you go wrong, right? Especially in gold hardware. Oh my god, it's gonna look gorgeous. And so I was like, okay, those are my top 3. So I took pictures, and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna go home, pray, and figure out my finances and just work it out. And so I kind of went home and just was like I can't believe it. And so I told my sister about it, and I was like, girl, like I'm looking at this bag. And she was like, how much is it? And I was like, okay, it's like, after tax and conversion and everything, it's about this much. And she was like, oh my God, are you crazy? And I was like, well, maybe. And so she was like, well, how are you gonna get it? And I was like, I don't know. And I was like, well, I'm probably just gonna like have to like embezzle money from my, like, not my mom, but like embezzle money from myself, so my mom wouldn't see how much I'm spending on this bag, because she does all my taxes and stuff. And so she would see all the money going out. So I was like, okay, I have to like obviously like embezzle money from myself, so it's like small purchases, and so my mom wouldn't figure out how much I'm actually spending on this bag. And so anyway, we plan to go to, just so this is like in the beginning of the year, and then a couple months later, I was deciding, I was like, oh, maybe I want to go see Celine Dion. And so we got the ticket and everything, and so we booked it in August, and I wasn't ready to buy it then, but so we're going to August, and I was like, my mom and my sister, and we are just kind of going as a family kind of trip kind of thing. My dad couldn't come. But anyways, so I told my sister, I was like, ooh, like, I'm thinking of getting this bag. And she was like, okay, like, she's like, are you getting this bag, like, when we go there, like, in August? Or are you gonna wait till, like, end of the year? Because I told myself, like, give me a year, let me save up and, like, work it out, right? And she was like, could you get it now? Like, I mean, like, it'll be probably easier. Like, you don't have to, like, smuggle, not smuggle money, but, like, you don't have to carry, like, money over, all in, like, $100 bills and stuff like that. And that way, then, you're not, having so much cash on you. And I was like, yeah. And I was like, well, maybe, I don't know. So I was telling my sister, I was like, okay, like, would you put it on her car? And so then it's like, embezzle from, so I was like, I can pay you, and then, and then you can put on your car. And so, because my mom doesn't do her taxes and all that. And so all that. So anyway, so it got figured out. And so I called my sales girl. I was like, okay, like, I think I'm ready for a bag, like right now. And so I'm coming this day. And I know it's like, I said it was going to be the end of the year, but I know I could brought it a little bit sooner. So I'm not sure if you have the red bag, that I wanted, in. If not, I'm okay with any color except for black or white. I don't want any basic bitches color. And so I was like, okay, any other color is fine as long as it's in gold hardware and 40, and just surprise me. And she was like, okay, like I'll figure something out. And so I was like, okay. So I was like, okay, well, I guess, I'm probably not going to get the red bag. And I think any of my top 3 wasn't going to happen. So I was like, okay, like I realized that that's not going to happen. And so I showed up. And my sister and I were like, okay, like we have to do this. So we tricked my mom into staying at the hotel. We're like, okay, we're going to go and do something. So you stay here. We'll come right back. And, and so we cabbed all the way. So we're staying Aria. So we cabbed all the way to Bellagio. We got off and we were like, oh my God, like it's happening. So I went to the Hermes store and so I because my sales girl was helping someone else and I literally just walked by her and be like, boo. And she's like, oh my God. So we say our greetings and everything. And she showed me her baby pictures and all that. And then so she was like, I introduced her to my sister and all, and all that. And then so she was like, okay, let's go to the back room. And I'm like, oh, we're going to the back room. So we went to, the back room is really the fitting room, but they don't really want to show the bag in the store because if someone who come and just was looking at, and then if I say no to the bag, then they will have to give it to, then they can't say, oh, sorry, we don't have a Birkin, because they saw it and I rejected, therefore the Birkin is, up for grab, right? Oh, also before this happened, while I was actually picking my leather, a guy came in and he was like, oh, I was told if I buy so-and-so, I would get to maybe buy a Birkin. And then the sales girl was like, no, we don't have any. And as I was picking out my leather, so really that thing was all a trick. Anyway, so back to the back room, and so she was like, okay, wait here. And then so it was the fitting room's all mirror, it's beautiful, and she brought in and she was like, oh my God, I hope you're ready. And so she opened this bag and it's this so she opened it up and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe it happened to me. And then she brought out Gold Digger and she's like, okay, before you say anything, because it the bag was, it's gold color. And she was like, okay, before you say anything, let me explain why I chose this for you. And she was like, okay, because you love gold so much, the color of the leather is called gold and it has gold hardware and it's size 40. So it's all the gold in the biggest bag of Birkin there is. And I was like, oh my God. It's like, me. And I just fell in love with it. And then I was like, and then I dubbed the name Gold Digger because it's just all the gold. You just keep digging for gold. And so I just fell in love and I was like, oh my God. She was like, so do you love it? I was like, oh my God, yes, of course I love it. Yes. And so she was like, okay, should we get twillies for the handle? And I was like, okay, let's do that. And then so she brought in the twillies and everything, and then so we're fitting, but it was the fitting room was very small, and she's like, okay, well, since you're gonna buy it, just pretend it's yours. And I was like, girl, you're not gonna pry this thing off of my hands. And so I was like, girl, this is already mine. I'm carrying it as if I already paid for it. And so she So she was like, okay, let's go outside and then we'll go and try it out, in the proper lighting and we can see all the scarves. So we actually decided to buy, instead of the twilly, because I was like, oh, the twilly's a little bit ugly. None of them I really love. And so I was like, oh, but there's a couple of them that looks really beautiful. So I bought 2, actually I bought 3, scarves, for my bag. And then, because I bought a red one. I bought, a turquoise one with a fan. And then I bought, the red one has tiger on it, and then the turquoise one with fan, and then I bought one with it's escargot, it's snail with the yellow, it's beautiful. And so we just had a big bow. So I was carrying on for the longest time, my Birkin with a big giant bow, and I just love it. And it was everything was such a dream. Do you know what I mean? Everything, the whole process was such a it was so crazy. And then and yeah, then my sister put it on her car, and then I gave her the money, and yeah, it was all great. It was fabulous. So yeah, just the whole thing was just very magical, and I can't believe, me being basic got offered a Birkin, because I had no intention of ever buying like such a bag at such a young age, because I think it was just like I was 22 then, or 23. Like, I was very young, and I paid for it all by myself. I didn't have any help. I saved up, because do your finances. And yeah, and so it was that was that. It was I can't believe it happened. It was crazy. And so after I went home, and I told her, I was like, I called her actually like 2 months later. I called her. I was like, oh my God, like, I love the bag. And she was like, oh my God, I'm so glad you loved it. And I was like, well, but I still want like a red bag. Like, I still want like a red, because I already called it, like, I already named it Red Pocket. And I was like, I still want that bag. So is it possible to still get that bag? And she was like, well, if you really want that particular color with, all that, we can do a special order. And I think I'm gonna leave that, because I think I'm running a bit long now, but I will I'll do another video about my special order process. But I think this is gonna explain to you how I magically got a Birkin, and it's all out of just like fluke, and also just I think just my sales girl get that I understand the brand of Hermes, and yeah, and so yeah, so that's how I acquire Gold Digger, and we've been very happy ever since. Okay, I will just end it here, and remember, Mama loves you.